Governor Whitmer laid out her plan last night for what she calls common sense gun laws in her State of the State address.
Yeah, her remarks is drawing backlash, though, from the Second Amendment advocates who call her agenda the first step to infringe on your gun rights.
Joining us to talk about this tonight, we have two special guests who stand on opposite sides of this controversial issue. Next to me here is Rick Ector, owner of Rick's Firearms Academy in Detroit, where he says business is booming, especially among women looking to carry a gun for self-defense.
And also joined by Detroit School Board member Sherry Gay-Dagnogo, who's also a former state rep from Detroit. She thinks the governor has it exactly right with this plan for gun reforms in the state. The governor wanted three basic gun safety measures here: red flag laws, universal background checks, and to enact safe storage laws. You think she gets it right here?
Absolutely. During and before COVID, we've seen an uptick in the challenges that many of our citizens are having, unfortunately, with respect to mental health. Red flag laws are important, and many states have gotten it right, moving to a place where those that are around them, that love their family members and people that they know, that can sound the alarm for someone whose life might be in jeopardy or will put somebody else's life in jeopardy. This is not a place where we're trying to take everyone's guns away. We can think beyond that. We're America. We're the state of Michigan. We can still allow for gun ownership. We're just saying responsible gun ownership, background checks, to make sure that those who actually have licensure for guns, their guns are in the right hands. And so what's wrong with that? And I think every time this conversation comes about, there becomes this partisan division that shouldn't exist. We should all want to make sure that our children are safe, our communities are safe, and that people are responsible that own guns.
Now, Rick, as Sherry just mentioned, a key part of this that the governor is talking about is universal background checks. Before you tell us exactly how you feel about that potential policy, what is the current process? If I want to go buy a gun right now from your shop or maybe from a gun show, a different situation, can I just do that? Is there a way I can do it without a background check?
If you want to buy a brand new gun from a retailer, of course, you would need to have a background check, and they would actually perform that through the NICS system. And in many cases, they can actually have that done in a matter of moments. And in a few select circumstances, you may be delayed for a couple of days or so. I think one of the issues that the people on the other side of the issue have concerns with is if we're talking about a long gun, and not a long gun that's brand new. A brand new gun, whether it's a long gun, whether it's a rifle or a shotgun, as opposed to a handgun. If it's brand new, there's a background check performed by the FFL, the Federal Firearms Licensee. Where we tend to run into problems is when we discuss used firearms, and that's this whole issue of universal background checks, is that now they want to introduce and legislate background checks on firearms that are not an issue by and large by the people that own and possess them. For the most part, the vast majority of people misusing firearms are not law-abiding citizens. There's criminals who are not able to lawfully and legally own a firearm. You look at any major story locally or across the country, it was already someone who was already prohibited from owning a gun, especially if we're talking about a long gun. Now, the thing with long guns, statistically, people run a better odds of being victimized by someone with a knife by a 4-to-1 margin. You're talking about people being victimized with sticks, rocks, stones, and then you have long guns, which of course would be rifles and shotguns. They are primarily not the issue. Yes, we all want to do our best to do whatever we can within our society to reduce the incidence of violence, but law-abiding citizens who have proven statistically that they're not the problem, that's barking up the wrong tree.
To take that one step further, though, what's the argument against it? Why not just do the background check, even if you believe it won't help? What's the harm in doing it?
Well, that's the problem if we do this incremental legislation. You know, what's the harm in just one more gun law? Well, see, over time, you're marching us down a road towards tyranny where we're basically going to be surrendering our firearms. And now we have people at various levels of government today who are saying now we have to get rid of long guns. We have to get rid of rifles. They're coming up with all these weird, nonsensical, non-factual statements about them being fully automatic, and they're not. One trigger pull, one discharge. Let's just cut through all the rhetoric. Let's stop attacking firearms. Let's stop attacking gun owners. Look at the root causes of violence, and there's a whole lot more things out there that are affecting our safety on a day-to-day basis than guns and vilifying good people who want nothing more than to protect their home, protect their family, and to protect their communities.
Whitmer obviously yesterday talked about, when you look at the whole situation, mental health and protecting people from having those guns. And you've seen this uptick in school shootings and school threats. Look what happened after the unfortunate incident at Oxford High School. You then have afterwards 100 other threats at area schools in Michigan. Don't you view this as a perfect opportunity to keep guns out of the wrong hands? Absolutely,
and we must make and continue to make more investments into mental health. But we have to be honest, and I like Rick, but utilizing the language that evokes fear. You know, that is the biggest problem in Michigan, is the partisan fighting. Every time there's an opportunity to come to the table to keep our state safe, to keep our children safe. 110 people dying a day at the hand of gun violence is unacceptable. 80 million children going to school and coming from homes where guns are not properly stored and put away. Young teenagers, and you know this has happened, Rick, the system has failed us. Young teenagers have been able to go into gun sales and fairs and purchase a gun even out of places like Walmart. So we have to be honest, Rick, and talk about the flaws and the fractures that are in the system that would take away all of our safety. When someone leaves this earth at the hand of gun violence, no one is asking, are they a Democrat or a Republican? We have a responsibility to make sure that we keep all of our citizens safe. And so all of the fear that we're evoking with the language saying we're trying to take guns away, that's not true. You know, I had a gun license. My license expired during COVID, and so I'll probably come and take your class again, Rick. But I still cling to the fact that we have to have those red flag laws. We have to have more mental health background checks, and we have to make sure that we are making sure that all of our citizens are safe. And just continue to use those words, those buzzwords that divide us instead of bringing us together. That's wrong. It's time for us to be more mature in our politics and make sure that we work together to keep our citizens safe.
Now, Sherry, you mentioned safe storage laws.
Yes.
You know, we've all heard the awful, unfortunate story of the 6-year-old boy in Virginia who brought a gun to school and shot his teacher. We hear countless stories in local and national news about guns winding up in small children's hands and being used. They weren't kept properly. But would a law, do you believe, change that? Are the people who are leaving guns around, are they likely to change that behavior simply because some legislation has been passed?
Yeah, well, you know, we have to do, I'm a former teacher. Always an educator. And so it's important that we, in addition to the laws, that we do what is necessary, what we've seen our Wayne County Sheriff do, what we've seen our executives talk about throughout our state, what we've seen our Chief of Police talk about, making sure that we educate and have those conversations in schools, but make sure that we're providing gun locks and places to store those weapons, and having conversations with the parents. Once you become a gun owner, you have a custodial right and responsibility to make sure that it is stored properly. And unfortunately, in many homes, children are exposed to these guns and there are no locks that are placed on these guns. So it can't just be legislation, it has to be education as well. And I think we have to do a better job of doing that in a way that is bipartisan and not evoking fear.
Rick, and how would you respond to this? I mean, do you think there is an issue here?
She talked about so many different facets of the whole gun question.
But is there an issue here?
And I've been making a mental note of some of the things that she talked about. First off, she was talking about the whole mental health issue. Yes, there are people in our society who, for whatever reason, whether it's genetic or whether it's psychological, whether it's because of a drug problem, who knows what it is. They flip out, they receive their treatment, they're segregated from the community, they receive treatment. Nothing is reported on these people, what condition they had, what bad behavior they exhibited, and they're released in the community, and because of medical privacy laws, nothing is...
And who
Excuse
closed
me,
the mental
Sherry,
health institutions?
I did not interrupt you
Okay.
at all, and they let you go
Engler, I'll
twice.
answer.
They let you go twice, back
Go
to
ahead,
back.
go ahead.
Okay, and so these people, they flip out and they do whatever, and they go for mental evaluation, treatment, maybe they re-up their meds, and guess what? They're turned out into the system and no one updates the fact that this person had a mental issue and didn't take their medicine, and then this person goes out and commits a horrible, atrocious crime, and then you want to blame all the law-abiding citizens who didn't do anything. With respect to red flag laws, I'm glad you brought that up. This is a process that is probably the most unconstitutional, un-American concept ever. A person can come out of nowhere for whatever reason, whether it's for political reasons. You know, she and I differ on guns, but she is a great, lovely person. I love her to death. But here's the thing. If we differ on guns, right, you might have a political bias against me, and now you can go in secret and tell whatever fantastic tales you want to tell about my character, and that I'm violent, and there could be a meeting held in privacy, and then there could be a raid, a pre-dawn raid executed on my residence. I don't know what's happening. They kick in my door. If I survive a raid on my residence for just owning a gun legally because of some lie that was told against my character, right? And so now if I survive, they take my gun, and now I have to get a lawyer, and now I have to pay all of this expense to get my gun back. This is the death of what's called due process. This is America. You are considered innocent until proven guilty. No one should punish you and then penalize you and then fine you and cost you to incur expenses to prove that you are actually innocent. There are people, for whatever reason, who will create such wondrous lies about you just because they don't like you or you have a different political opinion. As a conservative, as a gun owner, I am scared to death that people might target me for political reasons and say, he's a danger to society. Let's have this secret meeting. Let's execute a raid on his house. Let's take his guns. We hope we don't kill him. But you know what? He'll cost him so much money. We will have succeeded in disarming him and keeping him from getting a gun and exercising his constitutional right. It is the most evil, heinous legislation ever devised.
Now, we do have to wrap up, but Sherry, I want to give you a quick moment just to respond. Do you believe Rick's fears in that case are founded?
Absolutely not. We're not circumventing due process, and Rick knows better than that. I'm glad that he raised the point about people being released into society. We do have to revisit making sure that we make full investment in mental health, and background checks is a part of that. And we know under whose governor's watch, Governor Engler, he closed more mental health institutions in the history of the state of Michigan. And so we have to do a better job of making sure that we look out for those who have needs. And so there is a process that is in place that does not circumvent a constitutional right, but it's that same fear stoking that comes from the party of the other side. Lots of friends on the other side of the aisle that we can have great conversations when we're not sitting on the floor voting or when we're not on television. But unfortunately, that whole tug of war takes place publicly because people are worried about winning races instead of saving lives. Let's save lives and put the politics aside. That's what's necessary, Rick.
Let me tell you, I am all for safeguarding the public. If we need to make investments in mental health, yes, to your point, there were some mental health facilities that were closed.
A lot of them.
And I didn't interrupt you,
Okay.
Sherry. And yes, could we do better with that? Absolutely. Well, gee, you know, whenever you want to do something positive, the other side always says, gee, Rick, where's the money? We don't have the money. Let me tell you, they find the money for everything that they want. Have you seen these federal budgets that have included all sorts of weird, nonsensical things? If the will is there, they'll find the money. With regards to red flag laws, I'm telling you again, it is the most evil legislation whatsoever. It is the death of due process. You are convicting and punishing someone before they had one day in court to face their accusers. I would hope that no one would ever accuse you of doing something evil, raiding your house, almost killing you, stealing your property, and heaven forbid you don't have money to defend yourself or to even take this matter to court. It is the most evil thing whatsoever.
The governor has invested $1 billion in public safety. We thank both of you for joining us tonight on set.
I think we can
pleasure.
all
Thank you for
agree
having
this
me.
is a conversation that will not be settled, wrapped up anytime soon, unfortunately. So we
That's
hope to
right.
have you both back in the
Thank you
future.
for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate it. Let's save lives.
All right, this is Rick Ector, Chief CPL Instructor at Rick's Firearms Academy of Detroit, and Detroit School Board member Sherry Gay-Dagnogo. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we will be right back.